Larry Smith. I don't know how many of you, did I mention that my wife was out of town this weekend? I had a lot of extra time.
It may have come up.
I was listening to the Larry Smith interview on TSN 690 Montreal, and I love me some Larry Smith. I love a lot of the CFL commissioners, by the way, because they're good guys. And Larry was one from 92 to 97. He's now a conservative senator. He played for the Alouettes. He was the president of the Alouettes. He's kind of Mr. CFL. But you know what I like about Larry Smith? No BS. He didn't try to fool you ever when he was the commissioner. And in that interview with TSN 690 Montreal, Larry Smith said, listen, I don't even want to talk about a merger with the XFL. Nothing. Because Tony Marinaro, the host, kept bringing it up. He's like, listen, it's about this year. What's happening this year? They have to play. If they got to sell patches on the jerseys or find other ways to make money, but they got to play. And then he would sit back and go, but I don't know how they're going to do it. I have nothing to do with the league. But out of sight, out of mind, which is what I was saying a year ago, right? And people are, no, Rod, that's not a thing. Well, when Larry Smith says it, apparently it's a thing now. And he said, and the sponsors will forget about you real fast, too. Larry Smith wants answers, and he speaks for a lot of CFL fans and followers that we all want some answers here. So it's Wednesday. It'll be a month since Randy Ambrosie dropped the XFL CFL collaboration bomb. We haven't heard from him since. Training camps are supposed to open in a month. It's time. And let's let the conservative Senator Larry Smith say it. It's time, guys. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Out of sight, out of mind. And it's always a fine line of what's too far gone and what's not. And, you know, where do people start spending their money? Now, this past year, you might be able to get away with it because there's a pandemic and everybody's staying home and they're not necessarily replacing that spend with other things, right? But as we start to get more vaccinations and we start to be able to travel, and now we're looking at COVID as a thing we have to plan for, but we're still open, you know, doing things again. Now you're going to start spending your time and your money elsewhere. So this whole summer and fall, when we're back to starting to do a few things, camping and traveling and spending our summers, spending that money we would spend on football, now it becomes a real problem. It really does.
Absolutely. And the one thing that Larry Smith said, and then we'll move on, although a good chunk of our viewers are CFL fans, so we could spend the whole warm-up on this, and Davis Sanchez is coming up next segment to talk about this and more. But Larry Smith said, maybe are the owners going to bite the bullet? He said they're going to lose money anyways, so are they going to bite the bullet to play? And what bothers me is if they were going to bite the bullet to play, they would have bitten the bullet already and probably would have played last year, right? So what really disturbs me is I think in a lot of cases they have the money, but they're not willing to spend it on a bubble format. I know it's incredibly expensive, but at least you're going down swinging as opposed to just going down without a fight, which would be really embarrassing for the Canadian Football League. So you see my point on that, right? And then the other thing is Larry Smith said the commissioner is a servant for the owners. Of course, in my mind, I had a vision of Randy Ambrosie with a towel over his hand and a serving tray walking up to Bob Young. Iced tea, Mr. Young? Do you know what I mean? That was my mind, the way I thought. And poor Randy, that he's got to be the servant for these guys. He's the one in front of the finance committee at the House of Commons saying, they're like, what do you need? 150 million should do it. And the three MPs are like, get bent. Okay, we'll take 30. Come on. So anyways, that's my take on Larry Smith. I really admire him. In the 90s, when the CFL was dying and they had to bring in the American teams for the expansion fees, Larry would be sitting, Darren, at news conferences at the head table, go, look, we're dying here. This is what we have to do. You know what I mean? When I said no BS, that's what I admire about Larry. When he talks, you trust him. How many people are left like that anymore?